Ladies and gentlemen, good evening once again to all Rotarians, Rotaractors, and guests. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our esteemed and full of vibes Rotary District 720's Governor, District Governor Charles Seeley II, for the Rotary year of 2020-2021. Mr. Seeley has been employed with the Doctors Hospital Health System for the past 21 years, serving as the Chief Executive Officer for the past 12. Among his many educational achievements, he holds a Master's of Science degree in Healthcare Administration from the Western Connecticut State University and a Bachelor's of Law degree from the University of London. He has had the opportunity to lead several pursuits and is particularly fond of his involvement in Rotary. He joined Rotary in 1997 and served as president for the Rotary Club of Southeast Nassau in 2003-2004, assistant governor of Rotary Bahamas 2010-2012, and has held various positions in the district over the years. DG Seeley is a multiple Paul Harris Fellow, member of the Paul Harris Society, Benefactor Bequest Society, and a major donor. He is married to Rochelle Seeley, and together they have 3 sons, 1 daughter, 1 son-in-law, and a granddaughter. DG Charles, welcome to the Rotary Club of St. Martin Sunset and the Rotaract Club of St. Martin Sunrises joint meeting. We look forward to this much needed conversation under the topic, Attract, Engage, Retain. It is safe to say that you have accomplishments, personal and professional accomplishments that I aspire for. And I am greatly humbled by your speech tonight. District Governor Charles Seeley II, you have the virtual floor.
Thank you so much, and good night, everyone. I want you to do me a favor, please, and I want you to please give a round of applause to President Kenny. Give him a round of applause and show him your love. Show him how much we appreciate him. And as he talks about being the COVID president of Rotaract, I'm the COVID governor of District 7020. So trust me, I know from what you speak. It is so good to see each and every one of you tonight. And this is a little bit of a setup because, you know, a Zoom meeting needs to be about an hour. And if you go to an hour and a half, that's a lot. We're just a little over that now, and I'm the featured speaker. I'm the one that's stopping you from eating dinner or getting to your program. So please, just give me a couple of minutes, and I want this to be more of a conversation than a speech as we talk. I pay special recognition to your celebration on the weekend pass of World Rotaract Day. I pass that information on to DRR, communicating, of course, from the district, our fondness, and certainly we celebrate with you. And I do stand on, earlier, we would have, of course, recognized everyone. And I know that District Governor-elect Louis, if he had his opportunity, he would be governor right now. He's ready to take it from me right now. He's that eager and excited. And I'm that eager and excited to give it to him as well. But he's got a couple more months, before he can do that. I did also see our passenger governor, Mike Fennell, on this call as well. So it's so good to see the response and support by the leadership of Rotary. And I also want to pay a special tribute to the Kiwanians. I was so shocked to hear that, and I was excited, elated. You know, this weekend past, we had a beautiful opportunity to show that we're stronger together. We're a Rotary Club partnered with a Kiwanian club to be able to feed those persons who are disadvantaged in the community. And I was able to show up and have an opportunity to join them in that celebration. The fact is that there's so much scarcity. There's so much scarcity and there's so much need. And it makes so much sense that we partner together because we can do more. And I iterate, we're stronger together. So I truly want to celebrate those Kiwanians who are here. I do want to pay a fine. Mr. President, could you please levy a fine on Rotarian Lionel Lawrence? You know, Rotarian Lionel Lawrence decided to eat his healthy potato chip in front of all of us and didn't even offer one chip. I was waiting for him to offer at least one chip to someone on the call. And he did it almost romantically. He was enjoying each chip as he ate them. And I want him to know I was really upset, especially since I haven't had dinners yet. I digress. Let's talk a little bit about membership. And it is a conversation that we can have, Rotary and Rotaract. And again, that's a beautiful point because we've got to remove the bonds that separate us. We're united. We are a special group of people that span an age continuum who believe we have a duty and a responsibility to leave mankind better than we met it. And that's what makes us so unique. And so when we talk about the success to invite more and more persons who are like-minded, it's something that we all have to deal with, not just Rotaract, but also in the Rotary space as well. So let's talk a little bit about that. And I'll share some information with you statistically that's kind of fresh off the press because we've been doing a lot on this regard. So most of you may know that every year we lose about 12% of our membership worldwide in Rotary. So there's this constant revolving door that seems to happen where we get them excited to come in, but there's a leakage that takes place on the back door. Somehow they sneak to the back door and they get out. And we've got to find a way to figure out why does that happen. And even if they leave, there has to be another way that we continue the relationship, we continue the bond, and we take advantage of those relationships had. Here in North America and the Caribbean, over the last 17 years, we've lost 23% of our membership. That's a constancy. As a matter of fact, in our zone alone, zone 34, of which this district is a part, last year, we lost 4,500 members. And guess what? That was a good year, because the year before that, we lost 4,900. So we did better last year, even though I think 4,500 is a lot when you consider it. Our district alone this year has lost over 100 persons. And so we know that this is something that we have to resolve. This is something that we have to pay some keen focus on. We've got to identify how we're going to deal with this. COVID is interesting because of COVID, we've seen so many persons respond to it in different ways. And Rotary has gone on and actually done a survey with over 16,000 clubs to talk a little bit about this response to COVID. And 10% of the persons surveyed said that because of COVID, they're going to leave Rotary. 10%. Out of that group, 60% of those who say they would stay, 60% said they hate the virtual meeting space. And so this is a backdrop on which we are talking from to say, how do we make the experience, the encounter, one that is exciting, one that is, in my term that I use a lot, is sexy, enough that people would want to stay and be a part of it. Last year when we decided to do our training, we did something very important. One, we said that for no longer can we have this line between Rotaract and Rotary. Now, that's a statement that I know realistically that we cannot blur in 1 year. It's going to take years upon years of intentionality consistently to make sure that we interlock, we become interdependent. And so we had the district representation for Rotarians and Rotaract at our training session. We asked them to bring their leaders so that we all sit in the room, because when we talk about the leadership for our district, it can't be a Rotary conversation. Because I can tell you, you just need to go on Instagram and you'll see who's the busiest group in Rotary. It ain't the Rotarians, I promise you. It's the Rotaractors constantly doing projects. I mean, you guys get me dizzy with the amount of things that you do on a consistent basis. And I'm excited about it because it tells me that you understand what it is we do and why we do it. But when we were at that training, one of the things we said we were going to do was concentrate this year on keeping them and then getting them. So I have to now change your topic that you asked me to speak about, which is to attract. Attract is not the first step. The first step has to be that we have to keep. That means the ones who are currently still in the nest, we have to hold on to them first. We have to spend a lot of time, concerted efforts, working on the members that exist, that retain, that are in the meeting space. Because you may presume that those who remain are with you. They themselves may be contemplating their departure. And we have to spend a lot of time really on putting our arms around those who are in the nest and ensuring that they have a wholesome experience in Rotary, because guess what? They are going to be your marketers. They're the ones to the representation and the energy and the excitement to want to go to Rotary, that whoever is an attendant to them, an appendage to them, is going to flock to as well. So spending time on the keeping them was one of our intentionalities. And then we talked about getting them. So this is where we spend the time. And, you know, President Kenny, I'll tell you something. All the clubs that I've had an opportunity to talk to who have had fundamental growth or phenomenal growth, it starts with leadership. It starts with, in some instances, a charisma, but more importantly, it starts with the energy and the clarity that this is what we are going to do. And that the leader or the leaders zealously pursue that. That becomes extremely important in any transformation. And I see it in you. I see the energy in you. And I encourage you, don't allow someone else to be president next year. Be president again for another year. I encourage you, do it one more time. Since you didn't have the chance to do it in this COVID, go and be president one more time so you can fulfill that, right? But that's what it takes for there to be transformation. It has to start with leadership. As simple as that. The clubs that don't move, I can look at their leadership structure and see that there's no intentionality for the clubs to move. Our president, Holger Kanak, had 4 points that he wanted us to focus on. One of them was strategic planning. And as much as that sounded like work, that wasn't work. That was the intentionality of ensuring that your club is going to survive, that your club is going to grow, and you plan towards it. You execute a strategy towards it. You consider the health, the concerns of your club, and you find a way to make this club morph into something so exciting that others would want to come and be a part of. And so that strategic plan became a very, very important part of moving to the next level. So we polled the 4 highest growing clubs in our zone 34. And we asked them to tell us, well, what have you done to cause this catapult, to cause your club to move from where it is to where it is now? And so we had the Rotary Club of Louisville, Gainesville. We had the Rotary Club of Miami. We had a Rotary Club in Nassau, and we had a Rotary Club in Naples, Florida. And each of them had their story of what they did to make that move from their population or their membership being low and getting that population to grow. So let me give you a couple of tips from what they said. So the Rotary Club of Louisville, Gainesville, who started with 22 members, and I think they now are 37 members, said the most important thing they had to do was, well, be busy. Be busy. Have service projects so that when people say they want to be a part of a service organization, they served. And so some clubs have actually turned into meeting clubs. And a lot of persons who join a service organization, they didn't come to meet, they came to serve. And so having a cadre of activities that will make it a valuable experience so that there are things that keep people busy, that keep them engaged, keep them involved, becomes extremely important. And then of course, fun meetings, right? So you gotta have fun. If I'm gonna take a whole hour, an hour and a half out of my day, I need enjoyment, right? I remember when I joined Rotary back in 1997, many, many moons ago, I went to a club where everyone was wearing a necktie and suit, just about, or professional wear. My club was the first club in the Bahamas to introduce women into Rotary in the Bahamas, by the way. So we had very, very professional wear. We had speakers every week who would come and they would pontificate on those things of economic, of political and social value. But it was a very business-oriented meeting. Most of these persons were the top tiers in the organizations. They were a bit more mature in age. That's the nice way of saying old guys, so that's your euphemism. So they are mature in age, and so that was fun. That was good for them. That was enlightening. But when I look at my club today, that ain't gonna work. Our representation is totally, totally different because we've got younger professionals, persons who are young in their family life, on their career paths. There are other things that excite them. Some things they can't stay and be engaged in for too long. The way they interact, there's so much has changed. And I'm happy that my club has pivoted. But I promise you when I tell you this, not all clubs pivoted. I smiled when there was a club in Puerto Rico that I was visiting, and it had 12 members. And they said that they refused to add another member. So the average age was about 70 something. And what do you do when a club says they're not going to add another member? Well, we took the position lineup that they will just let them die. We'll let them die out gracefully. But some clubs just dig their heels in the sand and they don't want to change. They don't want to pivot. The clubs that are able to get members, keep members, are those that are willing to pivot, because they see that the strategic plan is not a document that you file away. It's a living document. It's like when you look at your bylaws, right? So the bylaws, which I think is we need to change the word. I think we need to stop calling it bylaws, because I think that's what causes people to just file it away, right? This legal document you file away. The bylaws is who we are and what we do. And when that change, we change it. We make sure that it represents who we are for this moment in time that works. And when that changes, we change the document to coincide. We don't allow the document to engulf us or to certainly handcuff us. We've got to see Rotary as a living organism. This is something that we do because we see the benefit to society. And as such, this is not somewhere we should feel that you should come and boy, I'm at Rotary again. This should be something you're excited to do. I can tell you, I have been in Rotary since '97, and I love this organization. I love the organization because I've seen what the organization has done. Because whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, there's a great need out there. There's a great need out there. And but for organizations like Rotary, like Kiwanis, like other organizations that see and understand their importance, many persons would be more disadvantaged than they are today. And so this organization matters, and I'm happy because, you know, when I take my 50 cents, because that's all I can offer, I know that on this call, I can add 50 cents with all these other persons. And when we're finished, that $10 can do so much more than my 50 cents can. That when I bring my hands to a project, that I can lift more heavier tasks and do more things because there are 10 other hands there to assist. And that's the value of what we're selling. We're selling the opportunity to give back. So when you are looking for members, you're not looking for someone you want to make a Rotaractor. You're not looking for someone you want to make a Rotarian. You're looking for someone who wants to serve their community, and you're letting them know that you could do more with us. That's all you're doing. And I tell you always, all a Rotarian is someone who wants to do good and they're wearing a pin. That's all they're doing. They're wearing a pin. But at the end of the day, it starts there. We have a duty, we have an obligation. It is our responsibility, not just for our kids, but for humankind, to leave this world better than we met it. That becomes extremely important. The Nassau Club, very quickly, here's what they've done differently. So the president, who I tell you, if you ever meet President Stephen, and I'm sure Alicia knows him because Alicia knows all the presidents of all the clubs in all of the zones. I think she goes to every meeting, everywhere. She probably is in 2 right now, but President Stephen has so much energy. It is infectious. It is infectious. And one would think that he would take that and he would bombard you with that every meeting. But guess what he did? He does not moderate his meetings. He lets members take over the moderation. So every week, a different member is moderating the program. Because you would expect as president, now this is your time to be at the mic every week. But what he did, which is absolutely phenomenal, is to ensure that every Rotarian realized that you are part of this plan. You are part of this journey. You're a part of this club. And everyone is important. No position is more important than the other. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you the most important position in Rotary is member. Don't let no one fool you. That's the most important position because that's what we came in here for. We became a member of something great. And so he is managing his club. They started with 37 this year. He's now at 57 members. They're inducting another member tomorrow, and he's got more members that he's going to induct before the year is out. That is a club on a move. That is a club that is infectious. And there's an energy that goes with that. There's an intentionality that goes with that. And that's how we get to grow our clubs, because people feed off of that energy. People will feed off that energy. If you bring negativity, they will feed off of negativity. If you bring positivity, they're going to hold that and they're going to run with that. And so he's doing some great things. He has what he's called a parking lot conversation that he has happens after the meeting is finished. And so that's where they go to do their lime and their social and so forth. And so he makes it a meaningful experience for his club. But the other thing he does, really good, and if you're interested in finding out how this guy does it, because I'm still trying to figure out, I can't get the press as much as he can. He is a media blitzer. Everything they do is always in the news, on social media, in the newspaper, on the television, during the news. He's finding a way of getting that information out. And I believe that's one of the ways he gets to attract. So if you had down to write down a point, maybe, well, hey, do people really know what your Rotary Club or your Rotaract Club is doing? Do they see you enough to say, oh, wow, they did that as well? There's so much we can do when we get that information out and we let people know who we are and what we're doing. And then, of course, you know, when you look at Naples, Naples is an interesting one because Naples had a similar issue. They had dropped really, really low. And what they did is they did a 3-year plan. They said in 3 years, we're going to increase our membership by 40 members. And they're just about almost completed. They just added another 13 this year, and they got another 5 in the pipeline. But they intentionally determined, here's what we're going to do. They mapped it out. They said that when you come to our meeting, the first thing they say is, welcome to the best hour and a half of your week. That's what the president says when he gets to the mic. Now that's a commitment statement, because now you have to make this the best hour and a half of my week. So that's a commitment statement, but that's a declaration, that's an intentionality. And so intentionally planning towards the growth becomes important, not just complaining, because, you know, we Caribbean folk, ain't nobody could beat us complaining. Nobody could beat a Caribbean person complaining. But I promise you, if you sit in that space of positivity and you start to think about how can we make this better, and then you plan towards it, and then you execute upon that strategy, not alone in isolation, but with your team. You talked about your team, President Kenny, with the team. Each member having a say in that. Then you're now onto something really, really phenomenal. So that's extremely important as you think about it. If you think about those clubs who have a similar issue, who have similar concerns with growth, but they've transformed themselves, and they did it because they found out, here are the things that we needed to fix. Here's the things we needed to fix. Rotary talks about, you know, vibrant clubs. And if you ever get a chance to pull that document on the vibrant clubs, you know, there are 2 documents that work really good for clubs, especially when they're at this place of, you know, how do we tweak what we're doing? How do we get to excellence? The health check, and this is a document that works just as good for Rotaract as it works for Rotary. The health check document, and then a club on vibrant clubs. And out of that, you're going to glean some good nuggets. All right. Everybody know I like to talk about nuggets, right? Because when you get that nugget that you could hold on to and you can now wrap yourself around, and your strategic plan is your North Star, then you're well on the way. But part of that is, again, going back to your plan of action, right? Why would I want to be a part of your club? Have you ever stopped and asked that? Why am I in this club? And if you can't answer the question in a way that's positive, then you know you're at the starting place. And then you start from, okay, well, what would have to happen or change in this club that caused me to want to stay? Now you got your building blocks. You got your ideas going on. And every member of the club has to be able to partner in that. They've got to put something in that. Everybody's throwing their thing into the chest. And that's your starting base from which you say, okay, here's some of the things that we could do differently. And this is not something you do one time only. This is a constancy. It's a constant reevaluation. The rhinos still exist. Everybody know the rhinos, right? Rotaract or Rotarian in name only. They exist because we allow them to live. That's how they exist. They exist because we allow them to live. Because at the end of the day, if you're allowed to be a rhino, then you'll become one. Now, not everyone has the me power button. You know, every speaker out there that is motivating people, they'll talk to you about this word empowerment. And empowerment always means someone tells you you now have the authority or power to do. I say you need me-powerment, because your excellence starts from within. Nobody clicks your switch, you click your switch. We've got to find a way to get every Rotaractor, every Rotarian to click their switch. Because when their light goes on, here's what's going to happen. You're going to find that you've got a prism effect. Each of us is going to light up differently because we're unique creatures and we bring something fondly different to the table than the other person will. You've got to get that person to ignite their light, because when you do that, now you're going to get someone who could, one, change the landscape, change the document, change the direction, and do it in a fundamentally different way and a proactive way. And that's where the power lies, making sure that you get each member. When I was president, I had 62 members. I went to each person before my year began, every member of my club. I went to them one by one. And I went to them very specifically because I wanted to know what, and this is before Rotary had the health check and so forth. But I wanted to know what I needed to do to give them that inspiration to be the best Rotarian they can be. And every one of them had different stories. There was one that was kind of very united, right? So everyone said, the one thing that annoyed them in Rotary, our Rotary Club, was that at every meeting, someone was coming to the mic selling something. So they're selling a raffle ticket, they're selling a bookers. And it's amazing, right? So Rotarians will give you $500, but they'll be annoyed if you keep coming to them for $10, $15, $20, right? That's just the way it was. So I made a commitment to them. I said, okay, let's do this. Let's have a major fundraiser at the beginning of the year. I want all of you to support it. And if we support this in a successful way, no one will come to the mic. Any request that is made will go through the board. They wanted their commitment. I wanted my commitment. And I didn't lose one member that year. As a matter of fact, we had the best attendance in the district that year. But it has to start with intentionality. You have to put your game in front of you. You have to want to see it. And getting those members to turn on their light becomes extremely important. Your meeting has to be fun, right? Be careful. Be very, very careful. We have a way of letting tradition hold us hostage, right? And there are things that we do in our meetings that still to this day, people don't know why they're doing it. And they wish they could stop doing it, but no one is brave enough to say something. Stop it. No one is saying it. We have a tradition in my club, and we've almost changed a lot of the members since we was started. There was a German person in my club who could not speak properly. And at the end of the club meeting, we would say to Rotary around the world. And his words came out as a growl. Well, somehow that catched on. And so in my club, we say to Rotary around the world, and then everyone growls. If you ask any of the younger members in the last 15 years, why do we do that? They couldn't tell you. It's just not relevant anymore. But nobody would step up and say, stop it. Or why are we still doing it? So be very careful that the traditions of your clubs don't hold you hostage. Now, I'm not saying everything needs to go away, but sometimes it's not the message, it's the medium. It's the way you do it, right? Like I would never change the young lady who sings the national anthem. She could sing the national anthem every time we meet because she sings it really nice. But there may be other features that you may want to add into the program and do a little differently to be able to ensure that you've got that energy, you've got that excitement going on in your club. And then of course, communication. Anybody in business, if you've got people working for you, more time than not, the biggest problems you have in your institution is related to communication. Lack of communication, miscommunication. And this is an issue in our business as well as leaders. We've got to make sure that we're communicating, and presidents listening, presidents to come, those of you who are seeking office, communication becomes so much important. Getting a finger, getting a pulse, touching base. One of the clubs, if a member does not come for 4 meetings, either virtually or in person, that person is, they call that person to find out what's going on. They make sure they follow up on their members. And I believe that this year, more than any other year, and I've said this to my Rotary Club, so they know this is nothing new to them. And Jida should be able to remind them as well if they forgot. I invited them to spend time taking care of your members this year. That sounds strange, right? Because we spend so much time taking care of the community, we forget that our members hurt as well, that our members are in need as well. And many times they say nothing because we've created that situation where they can't speak to their vulnerabilities. And so care packages, I had a club that went and gave care packages to its members this year because they wanted to show them how much they matter. And so when a disaster strikes, I don't want to hear that the first thing you did was go into the community and see where you could affect. No, I would like to hear that you checked on all your members and made sure that they were okay. And then that band of Rotarians can go out and meet the needs. We've got to be able to take care of our own, because when we leave out this situation, when we go in the post-COVID environment, we're going to be stronger together. And that together comes because we've got a family relationship. That's a family relationship. And so that's the good times and the bad times, we will weather the storm. We can do this. I know that it gets disheartening sometimes when you lose members. Don't think of it as you lose members, because two things happen when someone leaves. They create an opportunity to tell you where you're vulnerable. That's why the exit interview becomes so important. That's why it's important to go and find them and have coffee and tea with them to say, okay, well, why did we lose you? And find out what that gap was that we did not see and fix it. And then create a relationship with those persons who you felt you lost. They're not lost to you. Remember now, they have been exposed. They drank the Kool-Aid. They became a member. They understand what it is we do. Your job, should you accept it, is to keep them a part of the journey. They may not be wearing the pin. They may not be paying the dues, but they could support you in your community events. They can be additional hands to help you as you do your projects. They can get involved in other fundamental ways. Their companies can be of a financial support to your projects. So don't think you've lost them. We've lost them because we let them go. They may not be a Rotarian, but they can still do Rotary. And that's really something I want us to hold on to, because we're much bigger than we think. Because, the more people that come in through our organization and leave, the more people know who we are and what we do. I always tell my staff, whenever you're looking for a new job, you feel that you have to sneak out, right? So you don't let the boss them know that you have a job interview coming up. But we know, because what happens? You come to work. This is the day where you have on all your makeup, right? Or you dress really nice, and somehow you took a 2-hour lunch. Either you took it early in the morning or you took a 2-hour lunch, right? So we know you went on an interview. I tell my people, you don't have to sneak out of here. I will help you leave. And why would I do that? The first thing I want to know is, one, is where you leaving assisting you on your passion and purpose line? And if it's doing that for you, then I'm excited and I will support you in that journey. Why wouldn't I? You leave the organization in such a way, in such a pleasant way, that now wherever you go, you're an ambassador. And so we have to create ambassadors of Rotary and Rotaract. So when they leave, they're still touting, they're still telling, they're still singing who we are and what we do. All right, I know I've kept you long and I know it's time to eat, but I want to thank each and every one of you. And I'm looking at you as family. Each of us, we are in this business for a reason, for a purpose. I appreciate you. I appreciate the opportunity you gave me to be in this leadership capacity. I am your servant. That's all I am. My job is to help you be better at what you do. Give me that opportunity. I've got my district, I see District Chair Cheryl on here. Our job is to help you. And all we want to do is make you better. That's all we want to do. Give us that opportunity to do that. You are going to be great. Your Rotaract Club is going to come back stronger than ever. You're going to find those groups out there, those individuals out there who are excited about serving their communities. And then you're going to put a pin on them. And we're here to help you on that journey. So as you start to fundamentally put your strategic plan together, call on us. We're going to help you. To the Rotarians, we've got a club in need. So I expect you to step up and give them your support. And to each and every one of you, I bid you an absolutely fantastic evening. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you tonight, and good night to you all.
DG Charles, you have said so much that you started off with letting us know that one of the key things is to stay busy, stay positive. If you go negative, people will not, that's the energy they'll get from you, the negativity. Stay positive. And of course, one of my favorite things you said, that switch you need to flip as a Rotaractor, as a Rotarian. Thank you so much for your words. Thank you so much for the speech. Thank you. I've taken a few things that I'm definitely might apply with my club. Definitely the one with let each member chair a meeting. I like that one. I like that one. And eventually we'll get to a point that when we have our meetings and we invite you or anyone else watching this right now, we can say, welcome to the next 1 hour and a half, the best 1 hour and a half of your life, or at least for the week. Thank you greatly. District Governor Charles Seeley II, I present you a virtual certificate of appreciation, of great appreciation, I should say, and great thanks for being a guest speaker for us, for Rotaractors and Rotarians alike, giving us a much well-needed topic, because I definitely took away things that I want to apply with my club, and I am grateful for that. Once again, thank you, DG.